What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Stand a little taller. Doesn't mean I'm lonely when I'm alone. What doesn't kill you makes a fighter. Footsteps even lighter. Doesn't mean I'm over, 'cause you're gone. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining Balancing Act of Life again. I'm your host, Emilie DeAngelo, and we are with TLBTV. We're so glad that they have us. This is Gluten, Part 2 with our expert, Melinda Gross. Part 1, as you'll recall, and if you haven't seen it, please go into our video files at TLBTV and take a look for Part 1, because this is extremely important, especially with the holidays coming up. If you've got different digestive symptoms going on and you're just not feeling right, there's been so much going on, and including myself, Peach, healthy gal, as healthy as I am with everything, was having some issues, and I've had actually long-term issues. One being a rash that I had a little bit on my body for many years, just couldn't figure out what it was, and since it was not life-threatening or doing anything, didn't really pay a lot of mind to it. It was more of a cosmetic thing. However, as time has gone on, other things have developed, and I found out that the culprit definitely is in gluten. So in Part 1, Mindy kind of goes back to where her and her husband discovered this back in the late 80s when he was involved in an accident. And again, watch Part 1 because it's very important, because a lot of people don't even know about gluten-free, even though you might see it when you're out there shopping. If you're not familiar with it, you're really not paying attention to it. So you're kind of really back in the mindset of the late 80s and early 90s of like, what the hell he's talking about. So hi, Mindy. Thanks for joining us again for Part 2, although it's only been like 20 minutes.
I'm excited. Let's take it forward.
Well, what I want to take it from here is, okay, so now we had the story of your husband, who you find out has a celiac, comes apparent after this horrible accident that we almost lost him with, which, we're not even going to get into that. His sister kind of leading him to, it was his sister that first led him to the celiac discovery. Oop, I lost you. Where'd you go? You there, my dear? Look at that. We lost her already. All right, let's see if we can get her to sign back in. Hold on. I'm going to pause it. Okay, I found her. So what I was just saying was Mindy was back in the late 80s, early 90s with her husband with the horrific accident, brought the celiac to be apparent. And it was Part 1, as I said, go back and watch it because it's important in how it evolves. So now, Mindy, you guys are a little bit older. You're kind of going through with Bill what's going on. Now, guys, I have to tell you something too, which is, it's a little bit hard. And she's, as I said, she's the expert. She just doesn't realize it and won't even talk about it. Too much of a title for her to hold. She has a princess cap on, so she doesn't like any other hats. She doesn't have a celiac problem, but now she has how many? Now you and Bill have evolved. Tell everybody what you have now in the household.
We got married in 1993, and over the years, we managed to have 4 children.
Woo! And they're all wonderful. A couple of them we're going to get, but for the most part, they're very beautiful.
Yep, 14 to 21.
And our 21-year-old, that's Mary Margaret.
Yeah, you guys all know her over at TLB.
Yes. So tell us what happens now. You did mention a little bit in Part 1 that your sister had said when you were having a little bit of issues with Mary Margaret when she was very little, hey, why don't you get her tested? But we kind of brought you out of that. So why don't you go back there? It's a perfect starting point. Your first child, she's still in diapers. There's issues. Go ahead.
Yeah, we actually wanted to put her in one of the local preschools, and we couldn't get her potty trained. And they didn't want her there because you had to be potty trained. But my daughter, while she was mentally ready, her poor little body was going through the changes, and she was now celiac. And sorry, one of those wonderful little children just decided to pop their head in. But she couldn't physically go. She couldn't control her body. She was celiac, and we didn't know it yet.
See, now that's a horrible thing. A little youngster, ready to go. You guys are ready to, have her go. She's developing and all that, and then this happens.
Yep.
Where do you guys go from there? Because now it becomes scary. It really becomes scary.
Well, we talked to our pediatrician, and while I am so in love with my pediatrician, and he's learned as much from us as we have from him, he wasn't sure. I told him that my sister-in-law felt that it was possible that she had celiac disease. He had not dealt with that with any children in his practice at that young age. So the recommendation was, let's try putting her on a gluten-free diet. She no longer had a bottle. She ate regular food, and it was nothing to walk around with a bagel in her hand, or a Philly soft pretzel.
Right, or the different cereal just to have a little yum.
The Cheerios, whatever. And we cut out that, which is a huge change for a child that, able to just kind of walk around and carry their snack with them or sit and have a snack. And it made all the difference in the world. She went from crying and being sad and wanting to be a big girl, and not being able to because she couldn't control her body, to a functioning preschooler and going to school without diapers.
You see, that's wonderful, and you would never contribute to that. Everybody's got all these other things going on. Maybe she's got this wrong, that wrong, and here it is. It's really food.
And here was another thing. Everybody kept telling me that my daughter had bottle rot or pacifier rot because she was a pacifier baby. And her front teeth were discoloring, and they were starting to change and look like they were brown, and then they were starting to turn black. And they said it was because she would have a pacifier in her mouth all the time, or because while she wasn't on any kind of baby food or formula, she still did like to have her juice in a sippy cup. And, at age 3, that's not abnormal. But having her baby teeth changing colors, and the dentist didn't have a clue. That's what he was telling us was, take the pacifier away, take the bottle away. It wasn't that. It was the celiac disease. It was the celiac disease not allowing the calcium to go into her growing body.
Oh my God.
So her teeth were dying from the inside out, not the outside in.
This is wonderful, Mindy, because now you're touching on a gentleman that was in his late 20s, and how he got it, how his realization was, what his symptoms were. Now you have a baby. Now you have, let's move a little bit forward. You have 4 children now. Are every one of them with a celiac or gluten intolerance? Because you don't have to. You listen, everybody. You don't have to test positive for celiac to have a gluten problem. I'm not testing positive, but I sure as hell have a gluten problem. So tell me about that.
I was terrified to put my children to sleep to have this gastric test done. So in the beginning, they didn't go through that. And they didn't have the blood test at that time that you could take either. We're going back almost 20 years ago. And so for the 2 older ones, 19 and 21, we only had the option of, let's try a gluten-free diet. Now with my son, we now know that Mary Margaret has it, and she and Daddy are eating a gluten-free diet. And mind you, I don't have to. I don't have celiac disease. But I learned very early on cooking for Bill that I needed to learn how to eat a gluten-free diet, or I was doubling our grocery bill, trying to make 2 meals. I was doubling my time in the kitchen because I wanted a certain spaghetti and he had to have a certain spaghetti. Well, I learned to to adjust. Not everybody will. You don't have to if you're in this kind of a family. But I also felt it wasn't fair for them to watch me eating Tasty Cakes, which is a local Philadelphia dessert treat. Cupcakes and
Or just
little,
even regular bread.
oh, having my bread in the house and their bread in the house, and their bread at this point didn't have a lot of taste, and they would just kind of give you that look,
Oh,
or I couldn't have a bagel because, like I said, my Margaret carried around a bagel. That was her thing. She'd nibble on it while she was watching her cartoons or her Sesame Street. But then when
Ed's symptoms. Now you have a little girl.
symptoms
What her symptoms? What about Ed? Tell me about Ed and his symptoms. He's a boy. Again, we're still back a little bit in time here.
Ed's symptoms were completely different.
His
was this, and this is something that I think all parents should look into. And I don't care what your doctor says. You should absolutely give a gluten-free diet a chance if your child is having a lot of sickness. Eddie was always sick. He was actually a very quote-unquote colicky baby. Well, I breastfed my children. So anything I would eat that was gluten was going directly through the breast milk into the child. So I was poisoning this poor baby for the first couple of years of his life and had no clue. And that explains, all of his gastric trouble. But once he got to be about 2 years old, it was a little bit before we moved, and he was starting to have all these ear infections. And he was sick all the time. And these weren't just little ear infections. These were knock them down, drag them out. He had blisters in his ears.
Oh my God.
And he had the constipation. He was a constipation baby. But the big thing was the ear infection. And he was a late speaker. He also didn't speak. His sister would answer everything for him. He would point, and Sissy would say, he wants the truck. He wants the milk. He wants this. Because everything was delayed. I don't know if it was from the poor child being in pain all the time, or he couldn't hear from all the infections. He had 18 ear infections in 16 months.
And how old is this? Within the first 2 years of his life, or?
He was about 2.5, 3.5 years old.
That's crazy.
So in that it was right around 2.5. And they were getting ready to put tubes in his ears. And a friend of the family, whose child is celiac, had the same symptoms.
Oh my God.
And she came to me and she said, Mindy, it was because of your sister-in-law that I tried a gluten-free diet with my son, and we have not had any more ear infections. I really think you should try it. So we did. And he never had to get tubes in his ears. And
now here you are with so many different symptoms. Who the hell knows a list of symptoms to look at when you're just discovering this? His symptoms aren't the same as your first baby. And now here you are still with the same thing. And again, I've been told myself, we're not really sure. Could be. Wow.
There's just so much still unknown about it. And we finally just went with the rule, when in doubt, go without.
Yeah.
If you aren't sure, nobody can answer your question, is this gluten free?
No, and I agree with that.
Go without.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree that go it out, check it out, go it out, and when in doubt and all that. And I agree with that, absolutely. And I think many do. So you have 2 other beautiful daughters. Either one of them, or are they just following the gluten-free diet? What, I mean, is anybody, you hear so much about this attention deficit disorder, disabilities and all this other crap, which, I think they label too much and they just want to put them on this medication. And I know I'm not a medication person. I don't put down doctors and science at all. I think everybody's terrific. But I do think that there's a point in time where you say, let's try this first, which is more natural, especially when dealing with a child, before we just write a script out.
We are a society that wants everything fixed right now, and we've become a society that's very quick to put labels on people. And one thing that we did find early on with my son as well, when he got into school around kindergarten, when both children went to school, we would send gluten-free snacks with them, so they had a treat. When a child had a birthday, they had a special treat there, so they weren't left out. We made their sandwiches. They took their own things. If I knew that there was a pizza day, we would have gluten-free pizza the night before, and they would take leftovers so they could have pizza. But a child is a child, and they don't want to feel like they're not normal or they don't belong. And a child, not all children, but children will cheat when it comes to the gluten-free diet. And I found when my son was cheating, we had definite attention deficit type symptoms. The whole demeanor would change, the lack of focus would change, everything.
So there's like a huge array of so many other things happening that you think might be something else, but you're finding could still be stemming from this. Maybe it's not all to blame the gluten, the different personality, but I bet you it stems from there. I bet you it's an aggravator to something that might not even be as apparent or as bad if the gluten wasn't present. I mean, that's just my theory. What the hell do I know, right?
Right. Well, and that's it. Like I said, everybody's symptoms are different. There really are no two people who are going to have the same symptom, just like a thumbprint. Your fingerprints are different. Your DNA is different. Your symptoms are going to be different. I have children who have constipation. I have children who run to the bathroom with loose stools. You can tell who's cheating and who's not by the smell, So there's just a lot going on. You can tell when somebody's attitude is aggravated or agitated, that something's going on. And the first question I now ask is, did you happen to have any gluten? Did you eat something that...
And that's even if a child knows.
Lunch meat. Like, again, you have to watch just things that you don't think about.
All right, so everybody's got all these crazy different symptoms, and we're hoping that if you are going along with something in your household that just doesn't seem right, or you've been to the doctor because of the ear infection, or your child's attitude, or they don't want to go to sleep, or they don't want to study school, or they're just not getting along, or they're having tummy aches, or you yourself aren't right, you're given an array of symptoms here now. And like Mindy has said, when in doubt, check it out or leave it out. And I have to tell you, it's not an easy thing, but there's so much more of a selection out there now that you can do it. If you could try it for yourself for at least 2 weeks and you see things disappearing for yourself, your children, your family, then you got something going on and you really should continue with it. So Mindy, now we're older now. Let's bring us up to 2015, whatever, 17, where we are. People now, tell them where to go. Is there favorite bloggers you have, favorite websites, food stores, foods, recipes now, products. We're going to use you to jumpstart, hey, this is yummy and this isn't. So tell us a little bit. Give us a really good in-depth, like what my kids like, what I like, because again, she doesn't have a gluten problem. She can go friggin' eat where she wants, and she doesn't choose to because she's very health conscious, but she could. So from somebody that doesn't want to become resentful, what do you share with your family that hey, you know what, this stuff does taste good. I'm not just selling you this.
I have to say that, coming into 2015, 2017, that a lot of companies are now really trying to make things taste good and change it up and have gluten free. You can even go out to a restaurant now and eat gluten free. Where we had to be very careful with even French fries from your local fast food station or fast food chain. Um, they can't do that anymore because they're hurting their food population or the people that come to visit them. They're making them ill by adding a crunchy coating onto their French fries.
Well, I've been learning now, like you're saying, and I haven't been disappointed yet. I've asked when I go out to the restaurants, do you have a gluten-free menu? And sure enough, they do. And if not, they will go talk to their chefs and find out exactly what is on their menu that you are safe with. And you know what? While we're on that, Mindy, try to tell people just a couple of things when you're going to restaurants that you might not think of, which I have found out, but share with people, what are the things to be aware of?
You want to be careful with salad dressings. You want to be careful with anything that's coated, gravies, even drinks. Different drinks have thickeners in it. There was here's one.
All right, let's go back a little bit. You said here's one. Let's go back to that. We lost you just a little bit. Go back to you said here's one. It looked like it was a good one.
Okay. There's a chain out there that I believe is probably countrywide who puts pancake batter into their eggs and their omelets.
In their omelets to make them fluffy. Boy, did I find that one out. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm allowed to say names or not, but they're very famous for their pancakes and their omelets, and we'll just leave it at that.
But that's a point that I'm trying to get her to make it aware. Like she found out from her learning, and me too, omelets, to make them fluffier, they take the pancake batter, which has wheat or whatever, and throws it in there to make them fluffier. And of course, it's a nice thing. It doesn't really bother the norm. But these are the things. And the next thing I wanted you to tell is about the salad dressings and why. And I think it has to do with the distilled white vinegar or whatever. Tell them exactly with the salad dressings what to be able to ask for.
With salad dressings, it's best to stay away. Kind of caught me off guard. There's so much swimming in my head right now. But with the vinegars, it's best to stay away from salad dressings at all, or bring your own salad dressing.
Okay.
I find that people don't know what's in the salad dressings or what they're looking for. So we very often will bring, if we're going to a restaurant where we know there's going to be a salad, or to a wedding reception, we'll bring like a small Tupperware container with our own salad dressing in it, or we go without.
Okay, and you know what? That's a really good tip.
You have to watch for wheat as the thickeners. You have to know the vinegar if it's distilled properly. You have to make sure that, soy sauce, for instance, soy sauce has wheat in it, and teriyaki sauce.
How about mayonnaise and ketchup? Now, I realized that there's one brand out there, one of the biggest brands that made with olive oil is gluten-free. However, the rest of their line isn't. And ketchup seems to be, if you buy it organic, I haven't found gluten in it. What have you found?
We stick with certain brands, and again, I don't want to get into name dropping, but it's when you start definitely label reading. That's the most important thing. And if you go to a restaurant or a fast food place, you have the right as a consumer and to ask them, what are the ingredients in such and such as their ketchup? And they need to tell you. And if, somebody doesn't understand your question, let them know it's a food allergy and it can make you very sick, and you need to know what's in it go above the counter person, go to a manager, and someone will help you.
I've been finding it, everybody just seems to be used to the question now, and they're pretty informative. I really have found that, and I can't imagine 10, 15 years ago what you encounter. People would be like, oh my God, get this woman out of my table. I'm not listening to this. And unfortunately, that's just ignorance. And I can see that you had gone through it. I remember with the kids, it was a hell ride. It really was. And not because of them, but because of the people you're dealing with. So, what do you have any favorite, like places that you shop or you know, I think that you can share with, because that's you're not promoting them. You're promoting somebody for not being, you know, getting sick.
Well, it started that the only place we could go was either order online, or a mail order, or like Whole Foods, the Whole Foods store, Trader Joe's. We still enjoy shopping there, but we find that Whole Foods becomes whole paycheck because it just is so much more expensive. And now that mainstream has caught on to, we need to help the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who have celiac disease or food allergies and intolerances. General Mills,
Yeah, you're right.
you know, they're all stepping up to the plate. Even like Tyson's frozen chicken, they have gluten-free chicken nuggets. So I can go buy a bag of frozen chicken nuggets now for my kids, you know, or even Bill and I can sit and have a little snack while we're watching movies on a Saturday night, where we couldn't do that before. It was a whole day effort. Mm-hmm. I know Domino's has gluten-free pizza. Trying to think of some of the Olive Garden has gluten-free options, where one of my favorite stories to tell is with Olive Garden. And a friend of mine's cousin went, she found out she was gluten-free, so she decided to order steamed vegetables. And she got very sick and had to leave the table and go home. But she knew she'd done the right thing. All she had was, you know, steamed vegetables. Once she thought about it, she called Olive Garden and asked, you know, how is it that you steam the vegetables? Well, they steamed them over the pasta. So the gluten and were going up into her vegetables.
Oh my God.
Not all people are that sensitive. You know, some
are. It's like the peanuts.
But yeah, you have to be careful.
So the face blow up.
Yeah, definitely have to watch cross-contamination. I know that one of my local Domino's, we had to stop eating their pizza there, and we went to another one, you know, several miles away instead, because their people weren't being careful, and so we were having cross-contamination with the flour. It wasn't just gluten-free anymore, so we were starting to get tummy aches, and we found out that they were firing them in the same oven. So it was mixing in with the pizza. Okay. But everything seems to be solved now, and we're back to that. But there's so many great things just in local supermarkets. Like around here, we have ShopRite, and we have Acme and Giant. They have awesome selections of things from bread to even, I don't know the brand. Is it Kellogg's? The Lego My Eggo. They now have gluten-free waffles. Toaster waffles. So
wonderful now. I mean, it's wonderful now to come up in this time, but people didn't know of the symptoms early on, and people that aren't even like, what the hell is this gluten? You know, right now they're hearing these symptoms. They're hearing how you started, and you know, from your husband to your children to a whole blown family now that you got to cook and do recipes for them when you go out to dinner, what to look for there. People, you know, you're making people aware with this, and that's it's a great thing. Now, how about cooking? Like, you make a cake for your family or something. You're going to, or they're coming to your house and you're having a party. What do you do? I mean, are you easily finding these ingredients now?
You make a really good gluten-free cake. Can you bring it to the party?
Okay.
Hers is the best, and we actually have had family parties where people can eat gluten items, and they will eat her gluten-free chocolate cake over a store purchase cake. It's
Now,
just,
what do they use? Now, I know that I found fabulous a recipe with almond flour and with a little bit of coconut flour. It seems to be. What are yours? Are yours seem to be following the same?
It does. It seems like it has potato flour, tapioca flour. Without reading the label, I can't tell you. I know that the one cake mix that she uses is actually made here in Pennsylvania, but it's mail order only, and it's a really good food company, I think.
Yeah, there's a couple of them. You're right.
And their pancakes taste just like IHOP's. The kids ask for them for breakfast, for dinner. We do that. And I think it's Betty Crocker even has amazing like gluten-free cookies that are quick. It's already a quick mix. They've made it so much easier for us. If you have the time and you want to do a full-blown recipe and cook and make it from scratch, by all means do it. But
Absolutely.
for kids and everybody in activities, I found that I just couldn't do that and make everybody happy and feed them and give them treats. So I do still go for convenience, but now I have gluten-free convenience.
And that's wonderful. Now, you touched on something very quickly in part one that, we have about 5-7 more minutes, and it's more of an aware thing. We're talking about food with gluten, and it's a huge thing. But Mindy, tell people about products. What are they looking for in products, and which products do they really need to be looking at? What ingredient and these other products you had mentioned, shampoo, lotions, because you designed a line for us to have essential oils and things like that. But tell people where else gluten hides.
Well, you have to look closely at the ingredients. If it has a semolina, it has wheat, barley. Barley's crazy because it's in syrups. It's hidden. Modified food starch does not mean that it is corn. It could be made out of wheat. So different products that have a food starch in it, such as toothpaste. You want to watch your toothpaste.
What about shampoos and conditioners, body soap, body lotions? What are you looking for in there?
You want to try and have as all natural as possible, to be honest. If you can use homemade soaps and shampoos, my family has actually changed over to essential oils and companies that, like pH Healthy has their own line, Naturally Squeaky Clean, and it's your basic ingredients from your essential oils. It's cocoa butter, olive oil, sunflower oil, the different gluten-free grains that are used in products. You want to stay away from the chemicals because I believe the chemicals all affect the body with the autoimmune diseases. And celiac and gluten-free, that's an autoimmune disease that goes hand in hand with a lot of things such as your irritable bowel. Crohn's is a mimic. Believe it or not, diabetes. People who have lactose intolerance very often have some kind of celiac or a wheat intolerance.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So they're going hand in hand now. Is that because the
Dairy.
cows eat the grass or the wheat or whatever?
Right. Exactly.
Wow. I'm glad I like almond milk. I'd be in trouble there too.
I'm still working on that one.
So what other products are hidden with it? I'm trying to think. Laundry detergent? No? Yeah, I guess so.
Laundry detergent can have it. And sorry, I didn't mean to move away there.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
A couple of notes that I had forgotten about. Your beauty products, your lipsticks, your lip glosses, your eyeshadows, your foundations, your eyeliner, deodorant. deodorant, absolutely.
What would be in there that people would have to look for? What ingredient or ingredients?
You're going to find, because cornstarch is a like a natural deodorant. People starches, they'll use a food starch, so you have to be careful with that. And in soaps, a lot of times you'll find oats.
Okay.
And you have to be careful of oats. Oats is one of those tricky things. It depends on where it was grown and how it was processed. There are different companies out there. Bob's Red Mill tends to be the one that we use if we want to use oatmeal. But if you need to do, somebody says you're having a reaction, poison ivy or something, do an oatmeal soak, you can't. You really can't, because it has the gluten in it. So you need to talk to a manufacturer. You need to, and there was a company, it was a family-owned company. I haven't talked to them in years, but I had gotten little books from them that they have done all the research for you. Medications. You have to watch medications. You have to watch your vitamins, because the wheats are used as filler. You're using grains.
Does this stuff have to be disclosed on a
So,
label?
it's everywhere. But Clan Thompson, I'm sorry, I just get very excited talking about some of this.
No, I know, because it really keeps leading to other things.
It does. And then I have like this informational spasm that I think about, that I want to make sure I get out to your listeners. But Clan Thompson, CLAN, and then Thompson, THOMPSON.
Mm-hmm.
Them up. They have done so much of the legwork for you. They can tell you beauty products to use or stay away from. They can tell you pharmaceutical companies that use gluten as a binder for their medications. They can tell you fast food restaurants, and they have little pocket booklets that have it all right there at your fingertips, and it's a great way to learn how. And they even had little restaurant cards that you could give to your server that explains what it is.
Are they a company, a manufacturer, bloggers? What are they?
You were back in the days of like your Yahoo groups.
Okay. So they've really done the research and done the work.
They've probably jumped up to blogging now. Like I said, it's been a while since I've been in touch with them. But if you do a Google search, I'm sure you can find them. And
spell it out again. Spell it out again.
Clan Thompson, CLAN Thompson, THOMPSON. And it's a whole family. 12 of the family, and majority of their family had celiac, so they had to deal with this from all their babies, all 12 of them.
All right. Well, you know what? This is all wonderful, Mindy. I thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. I respect that, and we got a lot of other things coming down the board that we're going to be doing to attack this gluten issue, so everybody can kind of live like still normal, but know what to use so you're feeling your best. Because that's what this is all about. The balancing act of life, keeping your body healthy, keeping yourself wealthy, keeping yourself happy, and living the triple digits, because you can. Our bodies, as you know through Dr. Wayne, are designed to live to be 125 years old, but not where we're all crawling around crippled, to do it in a really good manner. So the things that we're discovering here with all of our experts, Dr. Wayne, myself, Mindy, and our other guests, it really is to balance out our life, to learn how to live in longevity and be aware and educated on all these different topics. So Mindy, thanks again for joining us. We greatly appreciate you. And everybody watching for our TLB family, Balancing Act of Life, we appreciate you. Thank you. God bless you and your families.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.